Stepping out of bed. It's easy to take for granted. You work, eat, play, sleep, and get out of bed the next morning. Seems simple. But if you're one of 25 million individuals in the United States living with major depression, sleep isn't always so easy. Neither is navigating your daily life, free of guilt or hopelessness, or having the ability to enjoy time out with friends, make simple decisions, enjoy hobbies, or go to work. Major depression is the leading cause of disability across the United States, and without treatment, the frequency and severity of symptoms tend to increase over time. However, there is hope. You are not alone. We can help.
There are many signs and symptoms of depression. Since every person is different, to be diagnosed with depression, an individual must show some but not all of the following symptoms for more than 2 weeks. Changes in sleep, changes in appetite, lack of concentration, loss of energy, lack of interest, changes in movement, physical aches and pains, hopelessness, and suicidal thoughts.
So the key symptom for major depression is sadness or loss of interest in things that people used to enjoy. And then there are a number of other physiological and cognitive symptoms that we see that go along with that. So changes in sleep, so either someone's sleeping more than usual or less than usual. Changes in appetite, again in either direction, either they're eating more than usual or eating less than usual. Difficulty concentrating, difficulty making decisions. Thoughts of suicide is certainly one possible symptom of depression. Feeling worthless, feeling kind of restless, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, feeling like your motor functioning is slowed down. Like everything just physically takes you longer to do. It takes you longer to walk from one end of campus to the other. It takes you longer to take notes in class.
So it doesn't look the same for everybody. It can really be surprising to some people. We've actually talked about it a lot here in the office in the past because someone may appear really happy and outgoing and be very depressed, and no one knows because they're hiding.
Just as there are many symptoms, there are also many causes to depression. Some causes are trauma, genetics, life experiences, drug and alcohol use, or even other medical conditions.
As with any disorder that you see in the DSM, any psychiatric disorder, family history increases somebody's risk. But certainly not everybody with a family history of depression is going to develop depression, even though it does increase somebody's risk. Sometimes traumatic life experiences can trigger the onset of a depression. So losing somebody close to you, going through something traumatic. For some people, a really stressful period in life can trigger the onset of a depression. Death of a loved one can trigger the onset of a depression.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 15 and 34. The two following charts are from the 2016 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. They show suicidal thoughts and attempts among U.S. adults. The data shows that individuals ranging between ages 18 and 25 have more suicidal thoughts and attempts than any other age group. This clearly shows that this is an issue for college-aged individuals, and it is absolutely heartbreaking and terrifying. This is why professors and students should be better informed about the signs and symptoms of depression.
Suicide is really complicated. One of the things we know about college students is this is a big time of transition, and it can be a really stressful time period. Students are oftentimes trying to make decisions about their careers and relationships and the next step. And when you're in college, if you're a traditional age college student, your brain is still developing. Your brain doesn't fully, complete development until early 20s. And so if you take somebody that has some risk factors for depression, as we talked about, and then you put them through a really stressful period of time, that might trigger the onset of depression and perhaps suicidality. What's really interesting is the data show that 9% of all college students have thought about suicide at some point. So if you survey college students, 9% will say at some point I've thought about it, but far fewer actually attempt it. Less than 1% will actually attempt it. So having thoughts of suicide, really, if you think about that's almost 1 in 10 college students, it's not as uncommon as you might think. And I think for a lot of people, the thoughts of suicide really reflect it's a poor coping strategy, right? I mean, you think about, oh gosh, it would be really a relief if I wasn't here. And sometimes just that thought can provide some comfort to people. But again, you're seeing far fewer people actually follow through on that and attempt.
Obviously, depression is a huge issue among college students. However, colleges and universities in the United States are not required to ensure that students and professors are educated about depression or provide mental health services to students. Luckily, at North Central College, the Dyson Wellness Center provides information about mental health and services for those who are struggling. However, one can still question if enough is being done.
This is hard for me to answer because I know the signs because of my own training. But I'm trying to think, in all my years of teaching at various institutions, I've never received formal training on depression. Although I will say we have had faculty meetings where we've had staff from Dyson come in and educate all of the faculty on warning signs. Here's kind of a general picture of the mental health of our students, just so faculty are more aware. But my personal experience in talking with other faculty who might come and consult with me is that they don't know. A lot of faculty really don't know. And the other thing to consider is that people that have depression don't always look depressed. And so if you have a certain image of what depression is, even me as a clinical psychologist, by talking with my students, if they present as cheerful and they're doing well in the course, I mean, if my only image of depression is someone that's crying and I'd be able to tell if they had depression, well, I'm going to miss it. So I think there's a lot of room still for increased education. On the student end, I don't know. I don't know how much we're doing that. I know Dyson does a great job of promoting and trying to educate students. We have FAME, which is a student-led organization that's aimed at mental health advocacy, and they do a lot of outreach and education and holding group discussions, like there's one tonight, for example. So there are a lot of efforts on college campuses to make students more aware. I don't know how much students are getting in first year experience, FYE, if they're getting some of that, or during orientation before they come to school. I know that they're getting some, like, okay, this is Dyson, these are some warning signs, but it's the kind of thing where I almost think it's never enough, so I think more probably would be useful.
Currently, the Dyson Wellness Center provides a variety of mental health services to educate and support students and professors.
The programming, we do a lot of programming. So from like suicide awareness to, we're trying to focus more on what to do that actually makes you feel better rather than focusing. We've found that it's just kind of marketing 101, but we've learned that if you do a suicide prevention awareness week or something like that, people are not super excited about attending any of that. But if we do things that actually decrease depression or decrease anxiety, people show up to those programs. So, from an awareness program or bringing in presenters to Dyson Dog Days, where it's literally just, we know that increases the good chemicals that get produced in your brain when you pet a dog, it was just like some basic, it makes you feel good. And that actually does have an impact on somebody who might be depressed, like a significant one, even though it seems silly. Or, we had a paint and sip program a couple weeks ago where students just gathered and they were painting and having hot chocolate or tea and stuff, and just doing something that like 50 students came to that, and it's just a much more relaxed, but it again is a way to help reduce stress and just learning by doing those things that reduce the stress. Or then
Dyson also provides counseling services for students. However, the counseling sessions are limited.
We're short term, so we're not able to, just because the need is the demand is high, we aren't able to do long term kind of counseling, but we do about 8 sessions per academic year. It doesn't mean that we're like kicking someone out, so if they cannot get services elsewhere, if they don't have insurance, if they don't have the resources for any reason, we're working with them to help them get connected, and we'll stay with them until we can help connect them to community resources.
North Central College has also set up a system where anyone can report a concern they have about a student's mental health.
So here on our campus, I think we are lucky in many ways because we're a tight community, so we're smaller. So we have a system in place, like the early alert referral system. So if anybody's worried about their roommate or someone in class, or and anyone can like fill out an early alert referral. But basically, our campus is pretty tight in that someone could fill out like, I'm worried about my roommate or my friend because they said or did these things, or they're sleeping through all day and not going to classes, and I need some support in helping her. Then, we have a system in place on a campus where there's a bunch of us who get together to talk about those early alerts, like how do we get support to that student? How we brainstorm the different ways. That's very different than when you're just out in the world.
Even with these services and programs in place, there is much more that North Central College could be doing to educate the college community about depression and assist students who are suffering from depression. There are many different ideas of what programs or services colleges should provide.
I feel like there should be a required education about mental health, because suicide is the second leading cause of death for college population. So to me, it's a no-brainer that we all are here. Like, students are the ones to really have each other's backs, and because they're more frontline and in terms of noticing if somebody's really needing help. So to me, it's like educating the campus about how to be a better support and identify when somebody's needing help and how to get them to help. And so I would love to see where, it's a requirement for all students before they even get here to watch something that would be a little bit that's like engaging and more real life. And
it is extremely important that all colleges and universities provide as much education and support as possible for all students, especially those who are suffering from depression. With nearly 9% of students having thought about suicide, these services could change students' lives, or even save them. If you are experiencing any symptoms of depression, please seek help. You can schedule a confidential counseling session through Dyson Wellness Center by calling 630-637-5550. Also, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 for free support that is accessible 24/7.